on behalf of that Straight Dope interview by Jeff Rieger of 97.1 The Ticket. Who better to get amid the Darius Slay drama along with free agency news? And here's Jeffrey. Jeff, Nick Switala, welcome back. How are you?
What's going on, Nick? How are you, man? Everybody staying healthy?
As far as I know, that's where we're at right now. But yeah, we're getting back to the station, back and forth, and I'm staying the hell home. Now, as far as there being no sports, no college basketball tournament, no Iserman pressers talking about Fedorov's retirement, the jersey retirement. What's the update on the Rieger family and the Rieger household? What's this past week been like for you? Tell me.
Well, it's been daddy daycare. My wife is working from home, and I'm getting a lot of weekend shifts over at the station, so I'm home a lot during the day. So it's been me and my 4-year-old, and I got to tell you, she's winning. She's winning. I'm exhausted. I have a newfound respect for daycare people, for teachers, really for child care people, because it's been tough, but it's been fun.
Yep.
Sort of.
Yep. I was just texting my mom today, an elementary school teacher herself, getting the details as far as the state of Ohio is concerned with the deals with Whitmer and Michigan. So you have that on your plate. Obviously, a million people with a million things on their plate. And it's obviously a pleasure to have you on behalf of the app and probably limited radio audience. But we're happy to come your way with Jeff Rieger now on the Straight Dope interview as Jeff chimes in. Look, let's start where we must. I was ready to talk different signings. I was ready to talk next year, win now edict, this and that. But here comes Darius Slay. And as you know, Slay, you can paint a good picture for us, but this is a guy that's always had something to say. But at this time, Jeff, I'd like to know what team you're on, because based on the support that Slay has had with all of these other players coming out, and now that the evidence that we have that guys like Bill O'Brien, guys like Matt Patricia, these Bill Belichick wannabes, these guys are a pain in the ass to play for, and now we have more evidence that we could have ever imagined now with Slay. What team are you on? I presume Team Slay.
Oh, God, yes, of course, Team Slay. I don't know how many guys have to do it, right? Glover Quinn, let's not forget him. The Lions did not re-sign him. He retired. He talked smack about the team on a podcast. Golden Tate, I think, was the first one to kind of say, if you don't agree with what they're saying, then you know what? They're going to have an issue with you. Quandary
Right.
Diggs, of course, traded. He then came out on Twitter and said some things, talked to Dave Burkett of the Freep as well. Snacks Harrison has talked a little smack on Twitter. And Darius Slay is just the latest. And let's not forget about Graham Glasgow, who flat out just did not want to be here. Never said anything, said all the right things,
Right.
but he didn't want to be here either. Ashawn Robinson probably didn't want to be here either, and both those guys have new teams now, too. So I would say this is just the long list of getting rid of good players because they don't agree with what the coaching staff wants them to agree with. And frankly, it's not a great way to run a team.
And you were in a couple back and forths where, even throughout this process where I guess it became inevitable that Slay was eventually, when you knew he didn't get dealt at the deadline, you still had a good feeling he was going to get dealt either right now or at around draft time. But throughout your back and forths, this is not a guy that said any of the wrong things. I don't care for it when he comes in the locker room and doesn't take accountability after chasing around Terry McLaurin for an entire football game after a loss instead of, it was a little bit me in my eyes from that standpoint. But as far as this situation with where this franchise is going and what seemed like the decision to trade him was going, he didn't really give you any reason to think that this guy was being a DB about it. He said all the right things, did he not?
No, I'm with you 100%. Listen, Darius, let's just start where it is, okay? First of all, great community guy.
Yeah.
At the high school games, a fan favorite. By all accounts, really just a good dude. He's a really great guy. So that's number one. Number two, obviously, I think the closing point, the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, was trading Quandary Diggs. I think at that point, he just said whatever he was going to say. He said he'd be open to a trade. Loves Detroit. We all know what he said. Well, when he details what he did to Dave Burkett and, of course, to another radio station and then ESPN this morning about the stuff that Matt Patricia said to him, whether it's stop doing something that we can't say on the air to another guy or whether it's how dare you practice with Aqib Talib and Richard Sherman, they're elite, you're just good. I don't understand what Matt Patricia's thinking. Like remember Michael Curry? Nick, I always use this example.
Very well.
Okay, Michael Curry was the coach of the Pistons, right? And there was this famous run-in that he had with Allen Iverson. He called a Thanksgiving Day practice, and AI didn't show up. And everybody was ripping AI, how dare he not show up? And I always thought, this is bad on Michael Curry because you should kind of know your players and don't put yourself in a position to be embarrassed or disrespected by your guys. The same thing with Matt Patricia. It took all of 3 seconds for Carlos Monarrez from the Freaks to write that article, Patricia's already losing his team, because Patricia came in thinking he's Bill Belichick, thinking he's actually won something, thinking that players are just going to respect him, and he decided to treat them like college kids. He decided to treat vets like rookies. And if he would have stopped to think for a second, maybe I get the vets on my side and they can help me with the younger guys, and that could change a culture. Instead, he wanted to be, Mr. I'm Bill Belichick, I'm going to tell you how it is. And it's obviously backfired. And now just look at free agents. Guys are leaving left and right, and they're replacing them with overpaid expatriates because, let's be honest, those are the only guys that, A, want to come here, or B, or B, will come here because they're somewhat, they know Matt Patricia, and they're getting a whole lot of money.
Exactly. And or if you're from another team, you're Vitae and getting 2-year commitments, guaranteed money that you're not getting from either of the 31 football teams in the National Football League. Look,
but Nick,
yes,
Nick,
please.
Quick, not to cut you off, but that's a prime example. Like Vitae might be an upgrade over Rick Wagner. I'm not saying he's not, and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know much about Big V. Okay, with that being said, what you're paying him, he's not going to give you that much more than Rick Wagner. You could take the extra money, use it someplace else. The same exact thing with Jamie Collins. I thought Devon Kennard was okay last year. I thought he was good enough. He struggles in pass protection. That's fine. But you know what? The upgrade, is Jamie Collins an upgrade? 100%. Is he that big of an upgrade that he's
right.
going to win you games? No, but you paid him like it is. So use that money elsewhere.
Yeah, and you got all these dopey Lion fans talking about how you can get cut after a certain amount of years. It's like, guys, if you look at the Jamie Collins, age 31, going on 32, second year of 3 season, and you see an $11.5 million cap hit, there is no way any of the 31 football teams in the National Football League would be offering that to that guy. They just wouldn't be, not to mention, as you said,
No.
Kennard was a team leader. Yeah, you're right. There's not... let's go to that right now because you made some great points. That Michael Curry comparison. Didn't Curry refresh my memory? Didn't he run Rip out of town too? Was that Curry and Rip that had that beef, or was that somebody else with Rip?
No, I think it's thinking of, oh my goodness, it was, who was after Michael Curry? I'm drawing a blank.
I'll look it up. Okay, I couldn't. That was great though with Michael Curry because you're right. Because several other NBA coaches, they did not call. They would do no such thing. And the fact that Michael Curry, you know what the similar is? I think the similar response, whether it's Piston players to Michael Curry or Lion players to Matt Patricia, it's who are you? I mean, who the hell do you think you are? I mean, this is the only person that can do that stuff is Bill Belichick. The only person that can trade Chandler Jones and trade Jamie Collins in his prime to the Browns is Bill Belichick. So I thought that was a tremendous comparison as far as these clowns coming in stuffing their chest out thinking that they're a superhero.
Well, let's not forget real quick about Jamie Collins. I mean, he went to the Browns, and he wasn't very good. And then the Patriots got him back for $1 million. And then, of course, they don't want to re-sign him, so the Lions give him 10 times that. They give him $10 million. So, like, I don't understand what sense that makes.
Yeah.
But it must also bring your to attention that, like, these are the only kind of guys you're going to get, guys that either know Matt Patricia or that you're going to overpay for, unfortunately.
Yep, and that says it all. These are not cost. Jeff Rieger here from 97 won a ticket with some good Lions thoughts. These are not cost of doing business type moves. These are literally paying people to come play for your franchise because it's that bad of a reputation. So those are excellent thoughts. Now, as far as you brought up some good points. We broke down the signings. You know, I wasn't excited about any of these signings because of the minimal margin. We're talking about improvement, or in some cases, you know, I'm not sure if the secondary is going to be any better next year because of Slay being gone. So from these standpoint, you cannot give this offseason in any. I didn't think they did terrible on the Slay trade, but from a signing standpoint, you can't grade it anywhere near an A, right? I mean, we're looking at every position and not even certain whether or not the position got any better after $50 million.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure that A, definitely not. I would say meh. Like, I'll give you a C. I'll give you a C minus. Like maybe it got better on the defensive line. Danny Shelton, the defensive tackle, Nick Williams. I'm going to be honest.
That's a good point. Yeah,
I'm not Pro Football Focus. I'm not breaking these guys down. I don't know how good they're going to be. I find it humorous that they continue to go from safety to safety to safety to safety, and Juwan Howard is the latest one, and, of course, from New England. I think give it a C. I mean, the one good thing I would say is they got rid of a lot of good players, but they also had an awful defense. So maybe some of these replacements can lead you to be not the 31st defense in the National Football League. But Nick, I think we know what the dirty little secret is. It's not so much the players, it's the head coach. I mean, it's just that simple. Matt Patricia was dubbed as the defensive genius. He's a rocket scientist, and he flat out can't coach. Whether it's human relations or whether it's team on the football field, whatever it is, he's not very good at it. And then think of it from this standpoint, too. Let's say they stink this year, which I think that's a good chance that they're not very good. And let's say that both men, Patricia and Quinn, get fired this year. Then what are you looking at next year? Whoever takes over this team is really in a world of hurts because I think Patricia and Quinn have kind of ran it into the ground. Like, I think Jamie Collins will be fine. I think Desmond Trufant will be fine. You know, Danny Shelton, I'm sure, will be fine. But they're minimal improvements for a defense that was really bad. So you wonder, well, maybe keep the guys that were already making less money and maybe change the coach and maybe something better would happen. The other thing you need to focus on, too, how much dead cap money, how much dead money is involved with Patricia and Quinn, whether it's signing Quandre Diggs to an extension, then trading him, signing Snap Harrison to an extension, then cutting him. Like, what are we doing here?
Yep, and I feel like I just have a gut feeling we're going to have that same issue, perhaps with Collins going into year 3. Maybe, look, Vaitai could keep emerging. He could hit his ceiling, and I know the ceiling is high, but
he's young.
He might, yeah, but there's not. Don't tell me there's not a chance he can't get cut from a new regime that is going to step into the office and say, okay, what the hell are we left with? And the answer, aside from Kenny Galladay and maybe a healthy Kerryon Johnson, would be not much at that stage. Good thoughts from Jeff Rieger. Real quick, it was I can remember it very well now. It was definitely John Kuster and Rip. You remember that?
Yeah. Great call.
That was a disaster.
Wasn't John Kuster? There was a mutiny. If I remember correctly, there was like this. But there was this player mutiny that they weren't going to play or show up to a game. If I remember correctly, that was not a good situation.
Guy garnered zero respect, and obviously that's brought up because of Michael Curry, who was coached right before Kuster. That was a good example as far as that Thanksgiving Day 2009, I believe, as far as Iverson, the reaction with the Thanksgiving Day practice. Patricia in the film room obviously presented to be a complete know-it-all and a complete Belichick wannabe. And you know what's really amazing about you already mentioned it. I mean, half a dozen, 7 former Patriot players, Jeff. I mean, you know, it's not even about the level of these guys is playing, because we agree that Jamie Collins, with his versatility, can still be a nice player. Duron Harmon can still be a nice player. These guys can still be nice players, but the embarrassing factor is that along with people on the open market that get $1 gazillion more than their value to come here are these former Patriots. And doesn't that kind of just create a new line of embarrassment when you total a number like 6 or 7? I mean, isn't that a little bit high to where, don't you think other GMs are kind of just laughing at these guys?
No, there's no question about it. And a couple things. I saw a tweet. I'm sure you saw it too. It made its way around Twitter yesterday that the Lions now have more former Patriots than they have original Lions with Matt Patricia.
I just saw that.
Over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Think about that.
So that in itself is miraculous. But I don't think it really breeds confidence of the general manager when all he does is make deals with the team that he used to be part of, making you wonder, well, how isn't Belichick ripping him off left and right? I mean, that's at least the belief that I have, the feeling that I have. So I would agree with you there. I mean, I think other GMs do kind of look at these guys as a joke. I mean, like look what they did just to Tua Tagovailoa. Just take this for a second, okay? We know they're not drafting him. Now, I think it might be a mistake, but that's a different discussion for a different day.
Right.
I will forever believe if they drafted Tua, all the hopeless Lions fans, at least for a couple years, would be back in the organization. They'd be happy, and, they would have newfound hope and healthy and whatever. With that being said, why not leave the door open to a team that might be willing to trade up to get Tua, but instead you go out and you get a backup quarterback already. Another backup quarterback, by the way, that obviously in Chase Daniel, that is not going to challenge Matthew Stafford. So he's not even like a project, unfortunately. It's just the same typical protect Matthew Stafford. And pretty much at the same time, you're closing all doubt that you would ever draft Tua. Like by bringing Chase Daniel in, it pretty much says like, we're keeping Stafford, we're not drafting Tua, and you know what? There is no reason to trade with us to get to number 3 so you can draft Tua. I mean, it really seems like poor business to me. And yeah, I think other GMs probably do laugh at them a little bit.
Yep, and then you can probably look at the Slay trade and the Trufant move to maybe even believe furthermore that this is going to be a Jeffrey Okudah at 3, and I'm a Buckeye guy and I like Okudah, but I don't think that's the right. I think the only way Quinn can win this offseason is if he deals out of that move, gives himself another cracks inside the top 100, top 75, whatever it might be. Maybe some further capital. I 100%. But instead, you know what we're going to see, and that's going to be the complete 180 of what it takes.
It could be Okudah. And by the way, I'm in love with Okudah. I mean,
I like him too.
Watching his combine tape, my goodness, he's good.
It's just it's the direction. It's the direction of the team though that bothers me more than drafting the player itself.
Hold on. I don't disagree. I'm kind of against taking a corner that high to begin with. I mean, Derek Brown is a typical Lions guy. It seems like he could be the draft pick. Isaiah Simmons, excuse me, is another guy that he's very versatile, so I'm sure they love him too, and I know they checked him out at his pro day. But I think what's really going to explode the Lions fan base, and here's the scenario, and I've been thinking a lot about this because obviously we're all cooped up in our houses, and I'm dealing with a 4-year-old. But
that's when it happens,
Chase
right?
Young, well, exactly. What a time to be alive. But if Chase Young falls to 3 and the Lions don't take him, then I think the total outrage will kick in.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's a hell of a point because the draft has not happened yet, so none of us can get on these airwaves and say he's 100% not going to be there, especially with Tua's medicals pending. Great thoughts from Jeff Riga here on the Straight Dope interview. Pleasure to have you on once again. Before I let you go, as far as the world of college basketball goes, roller coaster season for my Buckeyes, roller coaster season across the board in the Big Ten, Wolverines, Spartans, you name it. How are you feeling about Juwan Howard after year 1, and what were you feeling about this team's chances to make run as we're all left bummed out without the big dance?
I was supposed to be in Vegas, Nick. I was supposed to be in Vegas.
You were going to go. Oh, you were going to Vegas. Oh, you were going to Vegas too with all the 97.1 shows. You were.
Well, no, I don't necessarily go with them. I definitely see them. I might have a couple of drinks with them, but I go every year. It's a tradition with myself and a bunch of buddies.
Really? Okay.
Every year, and my dog just ran out. Bouncy. My goodness. All right. This is the greatest way to end the interview anyway.
Tell him hello, please.
Yeah, Bouncy. Okay, go play. Go. Anywho, excuse me. No, listen, I mean, I think Juwan did a fine job. I know people are in love with his recruiting. I hope that next year's team will prove to fans that, yes, this thing's heading in the right direction. I think there were some bumps along the road this year, but that's okay because he's a rookie head coach, and I don't even think John Beelan was going to do wonders with this team. So that's okay. With that being said, it would have been nice to see a little more consistency. I didn't see that, but it would have been great to see what they could have done in the tournament. I mean, they looked like one of the hottest teams in all of America to start the season, and then they found a way to go 7 of 8, and they looked really good. The win at Rutgers, the win at Purdue. So I really was impressed by that. I'm going to take the wait-and-see approach. As far as Michigan State, I'm going to tell you this. I'm not a fan of Michigan State. With that being said,
no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, just in case you didn't know that, they were playing some of the best basketball you could ever see.
They were.
And I feel bad for Cassius. I feel bad for Tillman. I mean, just think about what they had. I mean, Cassius Winston was playing great, and that's fine. And Cassius Winston is not a great defender, but he's a hell of a leader, and he's a really, really, really good scorer. But Xavier Tillman kind of took another step. Rocket Watts and Aaron Henry not only scored, but they turned into great defenders as well. You were going into the tournament with not only the 1-2 punch of Cassius and Xavier, but you had 2 guys as well that could kind of carry the torch in Aaron Henry and Rocket Watts. I'm telling you, I think they could have been super dangerous, and they could have won it all in a year like this where, other than Kansas, nobody looks super dominant. So, yeah, it stinks. I mean, you feel bad for a team like Dayton. I mean, Obi Toppin.
100%.
When's the next time they're going to have a lottery pick? You know, when's the next time they're going to be a top 5 team? So it's rough.
And the difference between Sparty and Dayton in that case, I agree with Sparty. What else is new with Izzo? But with Dayton, that's like a once in the franchise history type of season that they had, losing just those 2 regulation games in overtime. That was it. That was all. So yeah, it's a complete bummer. But I really appreciate the thoughts on the basketball. You actually gave us a few extra minutes, as it turns out. So if your dog was going in accordance to my timesheet, I apologize for that. But we'll keep an eye. Look, Bob Quinn's got to nail this draft now. I mean, he's got to go basically like 4 for 4, 5 for 5 in the top 175 if this team has any chance in hell. I agree with all the Lions' thoughts. It's always a pleasure, and we'll do it again, okay?
Yeah, Nick, just think of this really quickly.
Please.
Like, in a time of uncertainty, leave it to the Lions to make us all feel normal, at least for a second.
How about that? When we needed it the most, Jeffrey. 1 week, we're 1 week in. We're already getting that itch for the league year. It already happened. It's already getting a little stale. We needed something, and we wake up, and now Darius Slay's popping around, letting everybody know, rightfully so. Any Lion fan that's mad at this guy is one of the idiot many idiot fans that I see you interact with on Twitter, and you're a saint for that. We'll keep in touch. Okay, take care.
Nick, take care. Stay safe, guys.
Yep. Jeff Rieger, of course, you hear him on 97.1 The Ticket. You see him on Twitter all the time, interact with the fans, whether you're an idiot fan, smart fan, objective fan, you name it. Jeff Rieger is always there for you as far as the Detroit sports talk goes, and we were happy to have him on behalf of our Casual Pint. Once again, the Casual Pint Toledo still open. Doors are open now every day, 12 to 8, 35-ounce beers on tap with the Crowlers and Growlers to go. Full food menu as well. That's at the Casual Pint Toledo, where beer lovers meet.